The OnePlus 3T is a very impressive phone considering its price, but compared to the Google Pixel, is it really a flagship killer, and which one should you buy? We're gonna dive right into those questions in this video, and I'll help you guys make your decision. Now, depending on where you're looking, the Pixel can be up to double the price of the 3T, so this definitely will be interesting. And getting straight into things, the OnePlus 3T is a budget smartphone, and in a lot of ways, it's just as good as, if not better than many of the flagships themselves. We're seeing this with some of the raw specs because in terms of performance, both phones have the exact same processor, but the Pixel is actually clocked at a lower speed than the 3T, and the 3T even has more RAM than the Pixel at 6GB. This is already pretty surprising to see, but it gets crazy when you start looking at speed tests because a lot of the people who've ran speed tests between these phones have had the 3T outperforming the Pixel. Now, that's not to say the Pixel is slow by any means. Both phones are incredibly fast, and day-to-day performance is pretty much going to be neck and neck with these phones, but the 3T does have a slight edge over it. Moving over to the camera, this is going to be really important for most people, and as you already know, the Google Pixel easily has the best, if not one of the best cameras on any smartphone, and it really isn't a competition between the OnePlus 3T. This camera excels in everything, and while the 3T also has a fairly decent camera, it just isn't at the level of the Pixel. The same thing goes for the front-facing camera because, again, while the 3T is still pretty good, the Pixel does it better, and if you're always going to be taking photos, it's probably going to be your best choice. That said, if you're like me and the camera doesn't matter a whole lot to you, the 3T is still going to do you just fine. As for displays, the OnePlus 3T only comes rocking a 1080p display, whereas the Pixel has a resolution of 2560 by 1440. This is a pretty considerable improvement over the 3T, especially moving into 2017 now, and if you are someone like me, you'll easily be able to tell the difference between the two. That said, the display on the 3T is still pretty good, and aside from having a slightly lower resolution, it still handles everything perfectly fine, and in fact it helps with battery life since the phone doesn't have to push out so many pixels at once. Now, since the Pixel has a higher resolution, things are obviously going to look more crisp and it's going to be better suited to doing things like watching movies and playing games, but it really shines in VR. Google is pushing their Daydream VR headsets, and with this resolution, VR still won't be perfect, but it will be a whole lot better than on the 3T. That's because when your phone is so close to your face, you're easily going to be able to see pixels even at 1440p, so 1080p will be a lot worse. If VR is something you're interested in, then the Pixel will be better for it. Now, this is a limitation that we're seeing because of the price. Having a very high resolution display is pretty common on most flagships, so of course this is falling behind, and again, that's one of the limitations of having quite a low price. So moving over to battery life, things get really interesting here because both phones have extremely fast charging, but the 3T actually charges faster than the Pixel with its dash charging, and that's absolutely crazy to see. Both phones still charge extremely fast, and the difference isn't really going to change your life or anything, but it's a cool thing to have. As for battery life itself, both phones are great and they'll both easily last you more than a day with moderate to heavy usage, and that's actually pretty crazy considering that the 3T has a battery more than 600 mAh larger than the Pixel, but because of how well Google was able to optimize their own OS for the phone, the battery life is great on the Pixel. It's going to outperform the 3T in most cases, so keep that in mind if battery life matters. As for waterproofing, both phones don't offer it, which is a huge disappointment, and even more so for the Pixel considering its huge price tag. That said, some YouTubers have tested this out on the Pixel, and according to their results, it does look like it can handle some water. There hasn't been much on the OnePlus 3T though, so you're definitely going to want to keep that away from water at all costs, and the same applies to the Pixel since Google hasn't officially stated that it is water resistant. When it comes to fingerprint scanners, this comes down to personal preference because the Pixel has it around the back of the phone, whereas the 3T has it on the front. The fingerprint scanner on the back can make the Pixel inconvenient to unlock if it's facing up on a table, but it can also be more convenient if you're taking it out of a pocket, so again, it's really down to personal preference. As for speeds, both are almost instantaneous, but the 3T does have a slight edge over the Pixel. It isn't going to make a huge difference at all though, it's just something that you should know. In terms of other miscellaneous features, you're getting a lot of extra things with the Pixel, including Google Assistant, free Google Drive storage, and free customer support built in with the phone. These are nice little add-ons to the phone which really will make your experience feel quite rounded and satisfying. On the other side of things, the 3T comes packing a bunch of small features like an inbuilt night mode and being able to remap your hardware keys, which is so nice once you start using a phone on a daily basis. But other features like free live customer support just aren't things that you can expect with the 3T's price tag, so if you want something more premium, then the Pixel is what you want. Overall Although, yeah, the OnePlus 3T is a flagship killer and a hell of a good one at that. For its price, it's absolutely crazy that this phone can outperform even the Pixel in certain areas, and in others it still holds its ground pretty well. If having a solid, and I mean solid smartphone for a pretty low price sounds good to you, it's an easy choice. That said, if you still want the absolute best and don't mind spending the money for it, the Pixel is definitely the way to go. Now guys, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm also going to be making one just like this comparing the 3T to the S7 Edge and maybe even the iPhone 7 Plus, so definitely check those out as well. Make sure to like this video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to catch my new uploads, and with that, I'm out. Peace.